Let's talk about soccer or football. I suppose everybody here is like football, soccer? Yes, over there, everybody, yes. So, at least you enjoy soccer, so, of not. Well, if I talk for myself, I don't really like soccer. And my problem is, I have two little boys at home, 12 years and 14 years old, and when I look with them to soccer, they know everything about it. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They know everything about 4-4-2, for example. I don't know. They know everything about soccer. My youngest boy, he's 14, he even understands our main famous soccer coach, Louis van Gaal. It's unbelievable. So I thought if he understands football and all my friends understand soccer, why I don't understand it? So I thought by myself, let's do it my way. Let's do it on a different way. Because I am a data cruncher. I work for big loyalty campaigns, predict customers. So I thought if I can get the data, I can analyze it, and then I can say it is completely chaos. Yeah? Everybody, I think you are familiar with the Drunken walks. So if you can compare that with soccer, okay, you can prove it. But, so I said, please give me a big database. But I'm living in the Netherlands, and we don't have big databases for soccer. So I have a really problem. There are two just ways to collect data. You just hire 20 students, and you ask them, just count what is happening. So one student is counting the corners left, the other student is counting the corners on the right. Somebody else is counting free kicks. So they all counting and they create all kinds of statistics. But that wasn't the database I wanted. I wanted a database with the real XA coordinates so I can follow the individual players. Because if you have such a database, you can do something like pattern recognition, and then you can prove something. So there's a second way, but then you have to go to Spain or Italy, like Madrid, Barcelona, and they spent a lot of money for high-definition video cameras. They spent a lot of money buying the most expensive software programs. And they have also high-skilled software engineers to do something with the data. So they have beautiful databases. But they only use this data for performance analysis. So I had a problem. How do I get data? So I wanted to create something to help my little boys in their own football competition. So I have to find out, can I get something from my own data? So what I did was I did some experiments with video, and then I started to create pictures. So I bought 2 Sony cameras. I connected to my smartphone. I find a guy who is hiring this tripod, it's called that. Yeah? And it goes 12 meters. You can have a beautiful picture of the field, on the soccer field. So I think about a few years we just use drones, which is much easier. And you can then collect the data, and you can collect pictures of the soccer every second, and you can follow it on your smartphone. So that was great. So I thought, well, now I'm in business. I found many pictures of it, but I am not a programmer. So because this is really computer vision. But I found some great help from other people when I posted my problems on Stack Exchange, you know that? And there were all kinds of people living in India or Sweden, and within 10 minutes they helped me. It is unbelievable. I love it. I love it. So they helped me to create some syntax to find, to recognize the individual players. So, but then I had this other problem. Because if I can recognize individual players, I have to track and trace them. And that's, well, I'm not a programmer. I know there's somebody from Mathematica who can do it, so please help me after it. Because if we can create a software application with a very low budget, and you can make pictures of it, and you can recognize individual soccer players, and you can track and trace it, and you can translate it to XA coordinates, we can build a system which is very cheap And you can deliver statistics to all kinds of small clubs. Okay. But then I found another company in the Netherlands, and they use special tags. So they put tags on the football players, soccer players, and they have some sensors near the pitch, and they collect all XA coordinates. And I spoke to them, and they say, okay, Michael, here is it. So they gave me the Holy Grail. They gave me one match, 90 minutes, of exactly XA coordinates from every individual player. Wow, great. I love it. But I didn't know anything about it, because I didn't have a video. I didn't know anything about it. And for me, it was like walking through a dark house and trying to find my way, what's happening on the pitch. That was it. I just only had XA coordinates. So, let's make some fun. The first thing I did was this one. What you see is, I like it, what you see is 90 minutes soccer, and then from each soccer player, the XA coordinates, and then I counted the frequency each soccer player was there on the field. Yes, that's what you see. So you see the whole match of 90 minutes compromised to just one picture. I love it. So my main conclusion is, if you look to a soccer match, you mainly see the middle circle. That's what you see. So why do you like soccer? Okay, just starting at the beginning, because when I analyze the data, you must start getting feeling what's happening there. So I start just very easy. Let's calculate the average distance between one soccer player and his team for every second. Easy. Everybody can do that. You don't need highly skilled engineers. You can calculate the distance between me and the ball. Very easy. You can calculate the average distance between me and the other soccer teams. So I started to create all kinds of metrics. And when you put all these metrics in a graphic, in a plot, you find something interesting. But when, without knowing anything of the match, without knowing what's happening on the soccer, I could find in my Excel sheets exactly what's happening. And that's interesting, because if you can recognize specific moments in a match in your Excel sheets, then you know, hey, there's happening something, and then you can go back. What's happening in the first 10 seconds before that moment? The 20 seconds or 30 seconds. For example, there is a goal. What's happening in the first 10 seconds before that? Maybe 10 minutes later, exactly the same situation, but don't goal. There is no goal. Then you can compare both. That's interesting. And then you can try to find relationships. And at that moment, I realized that when my children talk about soccer, they don't talk about soccer, they talk about emotion. And when I talk about soccer, I talk about statistics. So that's the reason why I'm a data miner, and my children will become big managers. Okay. First thing I did was some very stupid screenplays. But my audience are not people like you. My audience are people who like soccer, coaches, and all these people like the emotions. So when I created this picture, I said, just select a soccer player, 12 for example, and then you see the whole match, the way where he was walking through the match. So the blue is number 12, and the red line is at the ball. So this gives a complete different view on the match. I did some experiments, and I thought by myself, what is the soccer training seeing when he's standing there? And in my opinion, he can't see anything. He can't see anything. Only when you look from above, you can see what's happening on the match. So I showed this very easy picture. Everybody can do that. Well, you don't need a highly skilled degree for that. But when I talk with soccer trainers, they love it. Because if you combine this with video, you get another way of looking to soccer. Football, for example. Let's go to the 3D scan. Now I have the database and can compare each soccer player to each other in his team. So on the left, you see a 3D scan of player 16 through the match. And on the right, you see soccer player 21. 5 minutes. It's going fast. Okay. Then I try to follow the individual players, and Mathematica is very good to make simulations. So you can follow each individual player through the time and what is the relationship between each other. Okay. But the problem is with the data, XA coordinates are too accurate. And from an analyst point of view, there is too much noise in it. So what I did, I was translated the XA coordinates to specific parts of the fields. So I reduced the enormous amount of data to just simpler parts of the field. So what you're seeing is here, and I go back to that. You see here 2 same players during the match, and now you see the relationship between them on the pitch. So every time player 1 is standing here, player 2 is standing there. So the fat line gives the frequency, how much it's happening there, and so you get a completely different view on what's happening on the field. So you can compare from 11 players, you can compare them to each other. And then you can, for example, if you do that for the whole team, you can, for example, recognize talent. I will show this with this picture. Everybody knows convex hull, I think so. You know? Convex hull, okay. I used this convex hull to describe the soccer, the match. And there's a theory which says that if one team is attacking, the convex hull is bigger than the other team, which is logical. But from a point of view, can you recognize talent of young people, then you will see that some players act in a different way in this convex hull. So the convex hull is a very interesting way to analyze soccer data, and you get another idea of what is really happening in the field. But I was interested in can you recognize patterns? Therefore, I used the machine learning framework, and these have some great algorithms. And one of the algorithms is that you can try to find relationships like if, then, else. So I find in this match more than one specific relations that if player A1 is standing there, player 2 is standing there, and player 3 is over there, there's a high chance to making a goal. So this was interesting because then you can, so analyzing the database, using these algorithms, you can find patterns which will result in a better result of the match. So I know it's just a sample of one, but what I try to find out is, can you find patterns in soccer? And if you can find these patterns, can you translate it to training field? So now I'm talking with a small club in Amsterdam, which we call Ajax. And they asked me, please, can you help us with talent recognition? And can you help us with talent development? Because they are calculated what's happening in a training, but now they have a tool to make a relationship what's happening in a match. So if you can make a relationship between what's happening in a match with real data and what's happening in a training, you can improve it. So I'm from Amsterdam, so I'm convinced that with using this data, Ajax will improve the use, and we will the Champions League about 8 years. But it takes 8 years. But I would like to ask you, I would like to create a software platform for sport analytics, because I think that sport analytics will be one of the booming business in the next 10 years. But I would like to create something which is very cheap. So something with cheap cameras, software programs, they can upload their files. These files are automatically recognized, and we can give them some easy report and analytics. And then we can help the youth with playing better. So I would like to ask you, if there are people here in this room, please, maybe you can help me with this goal. Thank you very much.